Hello, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I begin the presentation by taking stock of the Indian economy, its fundamentals, and the progress made. As you all know, I think that's quite convincing that the macroeconomic fundamentals of the economy continue to be extremely strong. And we've been able to build up a very rapid growth story so far. This is what will bring out on some of these macroeconomic fundamental parameters. Look at the inflation numbers. The inflation numbers from 2014 onwards have consistently come down. These are sub 5 levels or 5% level in last 3 years on an average. Now, in fact, for last 1 year, we are down to less than 2%. And this year also, we're expecting that we will not cross 4% and we'll end up at about 3.5% on an average. So a very consistent low is what India is defined by these days. Our current account deficits is now very well known. For last many years have been very low. Globally, you define 2% as the level at which you're absolutely safe in terms of your current account deficits. India has been able to bring it to less than 2.5 to 2%. And last year we actually ended up with less than 0.7%. So very low level of current account. There is a small blip in the first quarter, but as you go along for the rest of the year, this year would also turn out to be something very, very certainly less than 2%. The trust in the Indian economy in terms of flows in equity and debt, and also the big flows in terms of the foreign debt investment, is what is resulting into build-up of the foreign reserves. We've crossed recently $400 billion reserves. This government in last 3 years has built up additional $100 billion reserves. A very strong vote of confidence in the Indian economy as far as the build of the reserves is concerned. We have now reserves which are in excess of a year's requirement, so very fundamentally secure position as far as the external account is concerned. Fiscal consolidation story is also as credible and extremely good. This government took over at a time when the fiscal deficit was in excess of 4.5%. It has been consistently been brought down. From bringing it to 4.1 now, finally for this year, we have fiscal deficit target of 3.2%. As of now, the government continues to work to maintain that the fiscal deficit is achieved this year. We will take a final review around December, but the government's commitment is to continue to see that we continue on this glide path of maintaining fiscal deficit to the low levels. The target is 3%, so soon we would like to reach to that level as well. The GDP growth story has attracted a lot of attention in media these days, thanks to what happened in last 2 quarters, especially the blip in this first quarter of this current year, when the GDP went down to 5.7%. But if you look at the long-term story, the GDP in last 3 years has averaged 7.5%. It exceeded 8% in 1 year, averaged 7.5%. This year, despite this blip, now this is very clear. I think we're all convinced that this has bottomed out. You've heard and seen a number of indicators this year, whether you take IIP, whether you take core index, or you take the automobiles, commercial vehicles, even hotel occupancies, the average rate, all indicators point out that the economy is turning around. And this quarter numbers, when they come, certainly would be something to convince, I think, all of us that we are back on to a path which is towards this strong growth path. Very recently, I IMF put out a very long-term forecast on Indian economy, and IMF's convincing and very well considered forecast is that Indian economy will soon achieve the growth of over 8%, and that will be not only for 1 or 2 years, but consistently for many years. That is an independent forecast, and that's what we believe we will achieve. Not only that, and probably will do better than that. The other part of the Indian story has been the transformational reforms which the government has undertaken in last couple of years. The reforms which are global in nature, the reforms which have been acknowledged and noted all over the world. Recently, when we were in Washington, everyone almost in the institutions and otherwise was hugely appreciative of the kind of bold decisions which the government of India could take. I talk about some of them. In fact, the reforms are much larger. The GST is most obviously the one which is the biggest reform which is being taken, besides IBC, demonetization, black money, and so many other reforms which have been taken. This GST is reducing corruption, furthering formalization of economy, and raising productivity, and also strengthening the cooperative federalism of the country. So all these benefits are coming up. There were some issues connected with compliance burden on the SMEs and the exporters and all. All those issues have also been sorted out or are being sorted out, and very soon GST is going to contribute to the growth story of the country. The disinvestment program is also a very strong program. This year would be one of the largest ever disinvestment program of the country. We've already done about 30,000 crores this year by now, and we have a target of 72,000 crore, which will most certainly be exceeded to some extent, definitely achieved. That's what the government's confidence is. Now I would request my colleague Ashok Lavasa to talk about